You're just being dramatic again, my mother sighed, not even looking up from her phone as I doubled over in pain on our kitchen floor. Get up and finish the dishes. I'm tired of your constant attention seeking. My name is Emma, and at 16, I've been living with unexplained pain and symptoms for nearly 3 years. Every time I tried to tell my parents something was wrong, they dismissed it as teenage dramatics or attempts to get out of responsibilities. Mom, please, I whispered, clutching my side. It really hurts this time. Something's wrong. Something's always wrong with you, she snapped, finally glancing up. Your father and I have real problems to deal with. We can't keep indulging your imagination. I somehow managed to pull myself up, using the counter for support. The room was spinning, but I knew better than to mention that. Last time I complained about dizziness, they grounded me for making up stories to skip school. My father walked in, his face hardening at the sight of me leaning against the counter. Emma, enough. Your mother and I are hosting the neighborhood association meeting tonight. I won't have you embarrassing us with another one of your episodes. Episodes, that's what they called the times I collapsed at home, or when they found me crying in my room from pain so severe I couldn't stand up straight. Everything was an episode or an act or attention-seeking behavior. I think I need to see a doctor, I said quietly, knowing what the response would be. We've been through this, my father's voice turned cold. There's nothing wrong with you that better discipline wouldn't fix. Now finish those dishes and go to your room. I don't want to see any of your dramatic performances during the meeting. I nodded, fighting back tears. Crying would only make things worse. They'd take away my phone again, cut off my internet access, anything to teach me a lesson about manipulating them with tears. That night, lying in my bed, I could hear their voices floating up from downstairs. The neighborhood association meeting was in full swing, and my mother was doing her best impression of the perfect hostess. Emma's doing so well in school, I heard her tell someone, her voice carrying through the heating vent. Though she can be a bit emotional sometimes. You know how teenage girls are. I pulled out my secret notebook from under my mattress. Inside, I'd been documenting everything. Every symptom, every dismissal, every time they'd refused to take me to a doctor. The pages were filled with dates, times, and descriptions of pain so severe it made me see spots. My phone buzzed softly, a text from Ms. Martinez, my school counselor. She was the only one who seemed to believe something was really wrong. How are you feeling? Did you tell them about what happened in PE today? I collapsed during volleyball practice, the pain in my side so intense I couldn't breathe. The coach had wanted to call an ambulance, but I begged her not to. My parents would never forgive me for making a scene at school. They didn't believe me, I texted back. Said I'm being dramatic again. Emma, this has gone on long enough, she replied. I have a friend who's a pediatrician. She can see you tomorrow during your free period. I'll pick you up myself. My hands shook as I read her message. A real doctor, someone who might actually listen. They'll never allow it, I wrote back. They don't need to know. You're 16. In our state, you can seek medical care without parental consent if a school official accompanies you. I've already checked. I stared at her message, hope and fear battling in my chest. If my parents found out. Another wave of pain hit, so sharp it made me gasp. Through the vent, I could hear my mother laughing at someone's joke, playing her role of the perfect parent in her perfect house with her perfect family. Okay, I texted Ms. Martinez, tomorrow. As I lay there, clutching my notebook and trying to breathe through the pain, I had no idea that tomorrow would change everything. That one doctor's appointment would expose years of medical neglect and tear down my parents' carefully constructed facade. I just knew that for the first time in 3 years, someone was finally going to listen. The next day, Ms. Martinez's blue Honda pulled up 2 blocks from my house, exactly as planned. I told my parents I had early morning study group. Another lie to add to my notebook, but this one felt different. This one might actually save me. You're very pale, she said as I slid into the passenger seat. How bad is the pain today? 7 out of 10, I replied, using the scale I'd read about online. But I'm used to it. Her hands tightened on the steering wheel. You shouldn't have to be used to it, Emma. Dr. Sarah Chen's office was nothing like I'd imagined. Instead of the cold, clinical environment I'd expected, her private practice was warm and welcoming. Soft music played in the background, and the walls were painted in calming blues and greens. Emma, Dr. Chen said, extending her hand. She was younger than I expected, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Maria told me a little about your situation. Why don't you tell me what's been going on? For a moment, I froze. Years of being dismissed and ridiculed had made it hard to trust, hard to believe anyone would actually listen. But something in her expression made me pull out my notebook. I've been keeping track, I said softly, handing it to her. Every symptom, every time it gets bad. The dates, the pain levels, everything. Dr. Chen's expression changed as she flipped through the pages. The gentle smile faded, replaced by a focused intensity that made me nervous. You've been experiencing these symptoms for 3 years, she asked, looking up sharply. I nodded. And no one has examined you? Run any tests? My parents, I swallowed hard. They say I'm making it up. For attention. She set the notebook down carefully, too carefully, like she was controlling her reaction. Emma, I need to examine you. Some of these symptoms are very concerning. The examination was thorough. Dr. Chen listened to my heart, pressed carefully along my abdomen, and asked questions no one had ever bothered to ask before. When she touched my right side, I couldn't hold back a gasp of pain. I'm ordering blood work and an ultrasound, she said, right now. But my parents are not here, she finished firmly, and based on what I'm seeing, that's probably for the best. The next 2 hours passed in a blur of tests, needles, and imaging machines. Ms. Martinez stayed with me, holding my hand during the blood draws, bringing me water when I felt dizzy. Finally, Dr. Chen called us back to her office. Her face was serious as she pulled up my test results on her computer. Emma, she said quietly, you have a severe gallbladder condition that's been left untreated for far too long. The inflammation is extensive, and there are multiple large gallstones. This should have been caught and treated years ago. I felt tears sliding down my cheeks, not from fear or pain, but from relief. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't making it up. Something was actually wrong. Without immediate treatment, this could become life-threatening, Dr. Chen continued. You need surgery, and you need it soon. My parents want. Your parents are no longer in charge of this situation. She cut me off, her voice firm. I'm making a report to Child Protective Services. Medical neglect is a form of abuse, Emma. What they've done, or rather failed to do, is criminal. The word abuse hit me like a physical blow. I'd never thought of it that way. Hadn't allowed myself to think of it that way. They'll be so angry, I whispered. Let them be, Ms. Martinez said, squeezing my hand. You're not facing this alone anymore. Dr. Chen picked up her phone. I'm calling CPS now, and then we're admitting you to the hospital. Your gallbladder needs to come out before it ruptures. As she dialed, I sat there feeling strangely light, despite the fear and uncertainty swirling in my chest. For the first time in years, I didn't have to pretend the pain wasn't real. Didn't have to silence myself to keep the peace. One more thing, Dr. Chen said, covering the phone's mouthpiece. Those detailed notes you kept, they're going to be crucial evidence. You weren't just documenting your symptoms, Emma. You were building a case without even knowing it. I clutched my notebook, thinking of all the nights I'd written in it by flashlight, thinking I was alone. All the times I'd added another entry, another date, another dismissed cry for help. I wasn't alone anymore. And my parents? They were about to learn that some things can't be dismissed with a wave of the hand and accusations of dramatic behavior. The real drama was just beginning. The hospital room door burst open with such force that the nurse jumped. My mother stormed in, my father right behind her, both their faces twisted with a fury I'd never seen before. What is the meaning of this? My mother hissed, waving a paper, probably the CPS notification. How dare you go behind our backs and create this ridiculous situation? Before I could respond, Dr. Chen stepped between them and my hospital bed. Mr. and Mrs. Walker, I'm Dr. Chen. I've admitted Emma for emergency gallbladder surgery due to severe inflammation and multiple gallstones, a condition that, according to her medical records, has gone untreated for years. This is absurd, my father sputtered. She's just seeking attention, like always. We're taking her home right now. No, you're not, a new voice said. A woman in a crisp suit entered the room, followed by 2 police officers. I'm Sandra Morris from Child Protective Services. Emma is currently under protective custody due to medical neglect. I watched my parents' faces change as reality started sinking in. The perfect facade they'd maintained for years was cracking. "We've done nothing wrong," my mother insisted, but her voice wavered. "She's always making up stories." "Stories don't create gallstones," Dr. Chin interrupted, pulling up my ultrasound on a tablet. "Stories don't cause dangerously elevated liver enzymes. Your daughter has been in significant pain for years while you dismissed her symptoms." As a mandated reporter, I had no choice but to contact authorities. The CPS worker opened a folder. "We have Emma's journal documenting 3 years of complaints and dismissed symptoms. We have witness statements from school staff about multiple episodes of collapse. And now we have medical proof of a condition that could have become fatal if left untreated any longer." My father's face had gone from red to pale. We didn't know." "You chose not to know." Ms. Martinez spoke up from where she sat beside my bed. "Emma begged for medical attention repeatedly. You chose to ignore her." The police officer stepped forward. "Mr. and Mrs. Walker, we need you to come with us to answer some questions." "But we're her parents," my mother protested. "We have rights. And Emma has the right to proper medical care," Sandra replied firmly. "Rights you've denied her for years. Please go with the officers, or they will be forced to escort you out." As they were led away, my mother turned back one last time. "Emma, how could you do this to us? To our family?" For the first time in years, I didn't shrink under her accusation. "How could you ignore my pain for so long?" I asked quietly. What kind of parents do that to their child? After they left, the room fell silent except for the steady beep of my heart monitor. Dr. Chen checked my IV, then sat on the edge of my bed. "The surgery is scheduled for tomorrow morning," she said gently. "You're going to feel so much better afterward. No more constant pain." "What happens after?" I asked, looking at Sandra. "With my parents?" "There will be an investigation," she explained. "Given the evidence, they'll likely face charges for medical neglect. You'll be placed with a temporary guardian. Your Aunt Claire has already agreed to take you in." Aunt Claire, my mother's sister who'd been kept away from our family for years because she asked too many questions. Suddenly, those questions made a lot more sense. "It's going to be a different life, Emma," Ms. Martinez said, smiling. "One where you're heard, where your health matters, where you don't have to hide your pain." I touched my notebook, thinking of all the entries I'd made, all the nights I'd questioned my own sanity because they'd made me doubt myself so much. "They almost convinced me it was all in my head," I whispered. "But they didn't succeed," Dr. Chen pointed out. "You kept documenting everything. On some level, you knew the truth." Sandra patted my hand. "That's over now. Your parents won't be able to dismiss medical issues anymore, yours or anyone else's. Your documentation might even help other kids in similar situations." As I lay back against the pillows, exhausted but relieved, I thought about the years of gaslighting, of being told I was dramatic, of having my pain dismissed as attention-seeking. Tomorrow, the surgeons would remove my gallbladder, but they'd already removed something else. The weight of silence, the burden of doubting myself, the constant fear of not being believed. My parents had always said family problems should stay private, but some secrets need to be exposed to the light. Some stories need to be told. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is speak up and let the truth set you free. As I drifted off to sleep, for the first time in years, I felt safe, protected, believed. The pain hadn't gone away yet, but now it had a name, a solution, and most importantly, witnesses who wouldn't let it be ignored anymore. Sometimes healing starts with being heard.